Good evening and welcome to Tinker Tailor's Solder Fry here on the mighty Loading Ready Live Video Entertainment Network. I'm your host Ian Horner and welcome to the Let's Try today. The Let's Try this time, as it has been for the past couple, once again we're diving back into the DSKY Apollo guidance computer replica build it yourself DIY kit sent to us thankfully by Anonymousless in the chat. Thank you so much again for sending that to us. And
ironically not sent anonymously.
yes, yeah. Strange. By an anonymous-less gifter.
And how's the project going so far, Ian?
The project has been going quite well. We've been making some pretty decent progress. Slow but steady wins this race as is usual. So let's start as we always do by breaking out what we've done so far here. And today, our main object is going to be finishing up these button areas because turns out we had some bad buttons. Not all of them made the lighty upness, so I had to get on SparkFun and order a trio because I don't trust that we're not going to A, possibly ruin another button, B, have the buttons all work, and C, I mean, it's always good to have one more extra. Remember, 2 is 1, 1 is none, and none is right out.
So I thought none was fun.
So was that something that just like the kit, it was broken, or was it something that happened in shipping? Or?
So I guess they just didn't either they didn't test all of their buttons beforehand, or they were damaged in shipping. I'm not sure why. What I should have done is properly tested all of these buttons before attempting to solder them, because oh boy, this was a nasty desoldering job we did last time. So we will be testing these before we end up soldering them in, and then hopefully that means we can continue with the rest of the put together process. But before we do that, there something that came in mail time that just said, "Stop. Please open on TTSF." Sideways smiley face. And so yeah, we're gonna do just that.
Point towards enemy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's grab up let's get my bottle opener here.
Thankfully, that's the sideways smiley face. That's the friendly one, not the passive-aggressive one.
Let's cut that seal and find out what we're dealing with here. Because I have no idea. Beach just told me I have to do this with no other information.
Ooh, it's bubble wrap.
What is going on here? What, okay. readme.txt. And I recognize the look of some of these things. But before we get into this, what's in the bubble wrap, let's find out what our mysterious benefactor has for us. Get to the bottom there. Tear that. All right, what have we got here? What?
Is it a love letter?
Oh my gosh. Dear Ian, please enjoy this Apple II GS keyboard, ADB cable, and some courtesy 5 1/4 inch floppy disks I found at Kansas Fest 2019. The keyboard was pretty banged up when I got a hold of it, but after some TLC it looks brand new. Companion photos available upon request, and in good shape with some exceptions, asterisk. Feel free to leave that last paragraph off camera with the specifics. I'll close that up. And perhaps fixing the remaining issues could be a TTSF project? Probably. Fun fact, this exact keyboard that you now possess was used as a model for a cover shot of an upcoming edition of Juiced.gs magazine. See you at Canvas Fest 2020, question mark? I'm hoping so. From Sector 88 and Lady Aurelius as well. Thank you both. So much for that.
Apple II GS?
Yeah. Let's break open the rest of the presents so we can show it off here.
Rip and tear.
Oh my gosh. Micro Sonnet. Double-sided, double density. Does it have all this? Yeah. Oh, that's good floppy.
It's a real thick floppy,
Yep.
super dense.
And actually floppy. Oh, I have missed handling these.
Is it Microsonnet or Microsonnet?
You know what? Actually, there's no S. It's just Micronet. But yeah, these are great floppies. I was just thinking the other day about how I wish I had just a few floppies around, just for funsies, I guess.
Floppies for funsies.
Just to look at and handle. All right, let's continue to extract things here. This, I believe, is this is the, wow. You friends, you really packaged this. Urgh.
Gotta fill the box somehow.
I really want to use this bubble wrap better, but
Do you want scissors?
no,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Wait, all that bubble wrap was for the cable?
The Apple II, or the Apple desktop bus cable, which oddly enough also works exactly well as an S-video cable. And this, which has been on my holy grail list of things to track down. Oh wow, this looks spectacular. And yeah, I think I can definitely put that back together. But this is the Apple Desktop Bus 1 keyboard. And this is kind of been a holy grail for me. I have a Apple II GS WAS edition that I've held on to for a while, but I didn't get the matching keyboard and mouse for it. And the keyboards are pretty difficult to track down in any sort of decent condition. But this, what I like about it is how close the keys are to each other, but the raised actual cupped portion is different.
The directional buttons aren't in the cross shape.
I know, it's terrible for gaming. But wow, yeah, this is great. This is absolutely great. I know I've been...
It's interesting. That is not one of the keyboards that's normally, in the, keyboard Hall of Fame. Does it have, the really nice switches and stuff in it, or is it more the aesthetics of it that is the appeal?
Well, a couple of reasons there. I do want to notice that I see Rexadecimal in the chat there. You've changed your username, so thank you so much. And Lady Aileros, thank you as well for both of those. Oh, you guys are... You folks are fantastic. What I love about these keyboards specifically is partially the aesthetic of it, because you don't get that chiclet style very often, but this was actually one of the first Apple products to take advantage of the Apple Snow White design language. So very similar to the Apple IIc, but more Macish, and you get this lovely typeface that they used for the...
the italic key.
Ultra thin, too. But what I like about these keyboards, as a personal note, is they're mechanical, because I believe they use an Alps switch in them. And I was wondering, why does this not sound exactly like the Alps switches I have on the keyboard I'm using at home?
It's got a nice kind of thuddy instead of clicky sound to it.
Because in the Apple Alps switch, if I remember correctly, they use small rubber... Oh, this one isn't Alps. Okay, good to know. Perfect. But this one is what we want for what we're doing, which is resurrecting.
I noticed where the control button was, and that's weird.
Oh, you mean in the correct position? Yes. Yeah.
The caps lock and stuff is interesting too.
Cap lock is weird. Tilde is in an interesting position because, again, you've got escape in the right place, control in the right space.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
I love between the numpad and the keyboard. I remember looking at those as a kid, and I always thought that sometimes in cars and in different things there'll be the blanks for optional accessories, and so in my mind it was that there was a line of keys that could go there, you would take those out and put the keys in there. But I love that it's just the plastic, but they they put the grooves in it to make it sort of match up with the rest of the keys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice. Nice stuff. Nice. Nice. I am super excited to have that.
Good
Thank
finger
you
feel.
again so much. Beautiful finger feel.
Mm.
And I'm going to keep that with that there and keep these in the zone there as well. Cheers to all y'all out there. All right, time to jump back into the
DSKY.
yes, the DSKY.
We're steadily going back in time here.
Yeah, I do want to. I do want to read up later about what you all did to repair, and I don't know if you guys if you did any cleaning with it, but it looks in beautiful.
Hopefully they cleaned it.
Right. So let's start by having a look at our new lights and seeing if we can find out if they work or not. The way I was testing that before was actually just using my multimeter because it puts just a small amount of voltage through in continuity test mode. Just enough to light up the lights. So let's do that with these ones here. Oh, two things I forgot, and one of them was that these ones aren't marked with the anode. So that's going to be fun. Because that's kind of important. The ones that came with the kit thankfully were marked, but these ones not so. Okay, this one looks like it's working just fine in terms of the light. You can see the light up there. Yep. So that one will work.
So these are buttons that also light up.
Yeah, they're
So they're
buttons
like toggle switches.
with integrated LEDs.
Neat.
Okay, that one works, and this one also is. Oh. This one appears to not work. There might be, these might just be really bad in terms of their reliability.
The wrong way around?
Oh, yep, there we go. Okay,
Wow, jeez.
so those work
I
fine.
feel like that would not pass inspection on the actual space shuttle. They
Yeah.
need some more reliable fixtures than that.
Oh, okay, so there was some retro brighting going on the keyboard. Good to know. Thank you, Rexadecimal. That's boy, that is a process that I think would probably take its own episode of TTSF. Okay, so you know what I'm going to do for this is I'm going to power it back up, and then I'm going to examine which way the light lights up to find out which way it needs to go in, because we can do that.
Sorry, Ian, can you move your mic down a little bit? You
Sure.
got some beard interference.
Oh, yeah, that does happen. Let's get that.
We should do something about that.
Yes. Okay, how's that?
That's
Hopefully
better,
that'll
yeah.
be much better. All right, where is my USB adapter? Because we need to pump.
We did just give you like more of like a forked beard, so it's got like a channel down the middle.
Oh yeah, that'll definitely put me on a couple watch lists.
Just braid the two halves.
Yeah, that seems like a real Ian style. All right, that's interesting.
In a good way?
Ah, there we go. It was just not getting any power to the board. So there we go. Now let's see here. Do that. Does it light up? Does not. Do we do it like this? Does it light up? There we go. Okay, I think that's the way we want to do it. Just gonna flip it around and see if it goes on again.
Shouldn't those only light up when they're actually activated?
Not necessarily. In fact, they're going to light up and turn off based on whatever function they have.
Oh, I see.
So they actually have a piece of paper that actually goes through how they work.
Oh, cool.
But we'll add that in later on. All right.
I'm excited to see the all those 8-segment LEDs.
Yeah, those ones are going to be super exciting to see. But right now, our first goal. Matt, could you do me a favor and kick that little piece of plastic towards me?
Or I could pick it up like a civilized person.
You could do that too, and I'd be happy about that. Alrighty, so we've got our 300 should be fine for our soldering. If we go any higher than that, I don't think we'll need to. Let's put that there. That'll do. And let's have a drink of our drink tonight, which is Fieldhouse's Cucumber Mojito Sour.
How sour is it?
Enough. How cucumber is it? Pretty much.
Is anything ever really strongly cucumber, though?
I mean, even a cucumber isn't that
Itself,
strong.
Yeah.
Need to somehow increase the cucumber concentration.
It's a very shy
Uh-oh.
vegetable. I think you had that in the reverse orientation.
I think it was...
Perhaps we should have noted that down before we unplugged the thing.
Yeah, see, Oh, actually, there's a way to test that. All I gotta do is check another light. Right. Or not. Okay. I'm pretty sure that is the way it's supposed to be, but now you've got me thinking, and now I have to double check. So, Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to help.
Otherwise, I'll hate myself. If I have to desolder that button a second time. Right. No, that was in the correct position.
Is there some way to mark it?
I think the key is just don't take it off. But I could probably mark it if I had.
A Sharpie or something?
That's actually a fantastic idea. Thank you, Paul. And I think, yep, nope, this'll do. Because it doesn't need to be on there for very long. There we go. Okay, color has now been added. Let's, oh boy, how are we gonna do this?
With solder.
Yes, that's exactly how we're gonna do this. With solder. Boy, oh boy, I think we're gonna need to get two sides at once, or one side at a time. So some of these holes I can get in pretty easily, immediately, without even cleaning them out, but some of these holes are still pretty yuck. Let's see if I can at least get an indent so we can get things started through the holes.
So I missed the last TTSF.
Mm-hmm.
You got all of them but one in the right direction?
No, it wasn't the direction that was the issue. It was that it was a bad, one of them was just straight up not working.
Oh.
And so I had to desolder it, which is always a bad time.
I think one of your little legs might not be going into the hole properly.
No, you're entirely correct on that, because it's not going into the hole because the hole is not empty. Ah, this is fiddly, but necessary.
Isn't that the entire show? Fiddly but necessary.
This is fiddly but necessary. Yeah, you know what? Let's put that on a board. Print it.
I like the idea of this is fiddly but necessary, printed out in surface mount LEDs on a circuit board.
Oh my god.
Oof.
I was just thinking in, the really traditional way of being fiddly but necessary, just like deep embroidery. Or like lace.
Okay, is that going into the hole now? No, it is not. I'm going to spend just a bit more time trying to clear out these holes, I think. Where did I put my... There we go. There's the solder sucker.
You need more fiber.
You can always try tiny drill bits if you have some. Sadly, nothing that small. Ooh, wow, that's nasty. Need to clear that hole out. Yeah, that might explain why I'm not getting as much suction as I'd like to.
You need a solder sucker.
Yeah. Something to... Who cleans the cleaner?
Mr. Clean.
You know what I might do is actually, I might consider actually even just cutting that, the edge, the end of this off. But, all right. That should be good enough for a small suck. Okay, that made a hole. That's good enough for me. Just need to do that 2 more times now. Great. That didn't quite get there, but... Let's see if we can get to that from the other side on this one. Riveting content. Wait, no. This is
that what we're doing?
soldering content. Different.
I love the idea of riveting electrical components onto a circuit board, though. It'd be so much easier.
Yeah. Just get that whole idea. Okay, good. So there's only one non-hole hole. So that should be pretty easy to get then. Wow, that's
So much gunk coming out of that thing.
kind of what it's for. I mean, not to keep the gunk inside, but... Okay, clean holes on everything. I'm part of the Clean Hole Club. I believe I get a trophy for that. Was that so the Clean Plate Club, was that just something that's just a parent thing, or is that something that was actually like a government mandated thing from the agricultural department?
The
I-
which?
The idea of the Clean Plate Club.
I've never heard of it being a formal thing, except in formal parenting, I guess.
It's informal parenting as opposed to recreational parenting, or...
I am not familiar with the Clean Plate Club.
Ooh, yeah, it's just the idea that as a way of getting kids to finish their goddamn meals, you induct them into the quote-unquote Clean Plate Club.
Oh.
And so I hear people refer to that, it comes up more often than not in restaurant reviews these days, where people will mention, like, it was so good I managed to join the Clean Plate Club. Though I don't often,
Now I feel like I spent my entire childhood being dissed by the Clean Plate Club. They're like, no, let's not let that guy in. He's going to lower the tone of the whole thing.
So, here's something else I'm really happy that I remembered before I went any farther. Remember what we did to each and every one of these other buttons? We need to clip some ends off. So I'm not sure if you've got the super zoom lens on there, but if you can get right up there, you can see that there's 2 small plastic nubs.
It's like a little spider.
Yeah, right next to, you can see them. There we are. If I twist them like that.
Is that just makes them sit too high on the?
Exactly. Normally I think they're used to stabilize, but here they just make things go too high. So we spent, a good amount of time last episode just snipping plastic bits off.
So that's what I missed.
Yeah, it was real exciting times.
Now, are you putting it back the right direction?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good.
I've got that checked. Okay, and the holes are now. Well, it's going into the thing, into the board. Thank you, the board. A little bit more readily now. Oh, there we go. There we go. Friends, Romans, countrymen.
Friends and roaming countrymen.
We are almost in position with this button. It just needs to get itself... Ooh, whoa. Hello.
It looked like a bad movement.
There was some bendy. So what we're going to have to do, I think, is heat these pads and then push them down once they get in.
This whole malfunctioning light thing reminds me of I think it's in The Right Stuff, like the book about the original
Mercury 7?
the when they were doing all the testing and going from the sort of high altitude jet flights to actual rockets and things. But there's this one part where they have that looks like there's a problem with the shuttle because the light on the console's gone out. But before they actually scrap the launch or anything, they have to contact their counterparts in Australia, I think, to check to see whether it's just the bulb is burned out or whether or whether something is actually going wrong.
Right. I do love that. Okay. So I'm going to have to do some moving around and pushing of things here. Make sure it all ends up going into the places it should.
That does not want to get in there.
No, they were tight fits to begin with, and they continue to be tight fits. And I'm extremely worried about banging or just piercing my skin again.
Did I miss you doing that as well?
Yeah, I pushed a button contact through my thumb skin.
Through your dermis.
Yep, as one does.
That would be the blood part of the blood, sweat, and tears.
Mm-hmm. And the blood pact that I'm making with this cursed machine.
The tears come later.
Yes.
All right, how...
Blood sacrifice is an important part of the electronic manufacturing process.
Mm-hmm. Aha! There we go. Got one corner in there.
1 of 4.
Yeah.
Or 6?
6 total, but only 4 really are problematic.
If you do mess up this button with the jamming, you do have a backup one, right?
Oh yeah, that's why I bought 3.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just about there. It's very difficult to get 2 things heated at once, especially with My glass is slipping down my nose this whole time. All right. I think it's just about placed well enough that I can consider that done. It's starting to get a bit hot too. I don't want to burn out the component. Let's see if that if it's a test fitting. Seems to be okay.
It definitely looks a little more raised.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I think that fits snugly to that. And then where's let's just get a button or two. Ooh, because this is going to require a bit of fitting anyway. The 3D printed case.
Oh, I see. There's like a button that the LED shines through.
Yeah, exactly. So let's just push that in there. And okay, that'll be... Oh, this is fine.
Click, click.
Yep, it makes the click and it doesn't... It's not raised enough that it's going to be constantly engaged, which is the important part.
Got quite a nice clicky action, eh?
Yeah, good sound. Good sound, good action. Okay. Wow, I think this means we can continue. Which means I need the thing that I didn't bring in. Matt, would you be so kind as to get the big iPad from the other room?
Big iPad.
Yeah. Which has the instructions upon how to continue this process. Thank you.
Thank
Please.
Paul.
Thank you, Paul.
I just had it here. You can just close the...
Yeah. And we were in there. Wow, Skype has a really terrible new logo. And let's not...
You can stop at Skype has a really terrible new... I feel like every version of Skype for the last like 3 or 4 years has been worse than the previous one.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because it was so good.
Yeah.
Right. So where do I need to go to get my instructions for this again? DSKY.com.
Mm-hmm.
It's .com. And downloads. Instructions. There we go.
Riveting internet.
Okay. So, cut, insert, and solder all 13 lighted push buttons, making sure all the red dots cathode are on the left side. Once the buttons are inserted, power up the Arduino via its USB port to test all 19 button LEDs before I solder them. Before.
Mm-hmm.
All right, then we need to solder all 4 Maxim sockets, making sure to respect orientation, which is something we do in all of our work here.
Yes. Always respect orientation.
Mm-hmm.
So that means getting out the old plastic-wrapped foam.
It's highly secure.
Yeah, nothing's going anywhere. And we need all 4 of these Maxims.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So what are these?
These are literally just a socket into which to push the Maxim chips, 1714 chips. I don't know.
Oh,
what
those are
they do.
those are the 8-segment LEDs.
No. So these are the chips that are going to go in to these sockets.
It's just a mount for it, pretty much.
What do those chips do?
That's a good question.
I assumed everything was just being run on the Arduino.
Yeah, no, I think these are Yeah. If anyone has, you know what? Let's find out what these chips do. Because it's kind of curiosity is rewarded. So the Max 7219. 7219 is a serial interfaced. Oh, okay. It's a serially interfaced 8-digit LED display driver. So you were right on.
Oh, but the idea is that the Arduino itself can't control that they need, or it needs to transmit its signals.
Yeah.
I guess it doesn't have enough pins to run all of those LEDs.
Yeah, I think we'd probably need these anyway.
Right. So it's probably that whole thing can be run by a couple of pins off the Arduino, and then translates it into whatever.
That would be my guess.
It might just be that it was structured that way originally, and this is a replica, right?
I mean, well, the whole thing's running off an Arduino, so the replica and it's using like LEDs and stuff. So
Yeah.
the replica aspect is
Kind of moot. I mean, this thing has space on it for an MP3 player module.
what for like shuttle takeoff noises.
I think not for shuttle, but I think maybe for maybe. You know what? I don't know what it's for.
Just put on different startup chimes from old computers.
Old Macintoshes,
Boom.
as is what we do here. It seems sometimes. Okay, how do I want to hold this in place?
Oh, that's a good point. It does it going to be going into space, so theremin would be appropriate. Yeah.
Ooh, actually, could I request a small amount of the or one of the small rolls of gaff tape?
Color.
Doesn't matter.
Paul feels spicy today and has chosen orange.
Ooh, I like it. So what I'm going to do here, rather than attempt to hold it in place with my hands while I solder, why don't we just hold it in place with some adhesive?
We won't leave any residue. That will be a problem later.
There we go. And then we can just paint on our flux and get to work melting some lead. It's been so long.
Should we wear, like, face masks more often here?
I mean, breathing might not be a good idea all the time.
I mean, like, as long as you don't care about breathing too much, then you're fine.
I mean, at very specific points is what I'm talking about. Like when the smoke is getting released from our magic wire. Get on up. All right, I think we're ready to start laying down some solder.
How many rolls of solder wire have you gone through?
You know what? One.
Oh.
This is probably the most soldering I have ever done in any one go.
Well, I meant just like lifetime.
Yeah, lifetime. It's kind of like floss.
You use such a minute amount.
Yeah.
It's like floss in that you put it between your teeth.
Well,
like,
in that you feel a sense of accomplishment when you finished a container of floss.
oh, like a chapstick too.
And sometimes you're more likely to lose it before you actually use it up.
Mm-hmm.
In my lifetime so far, have only finished one tube of chapstick.
Wow.
Every other one that I've started, I've lost. And the one that I finished, I lost the cap for.
I mean, that's something at least you can replace pretty easily. You know what? In some ways, I actually preferred the blade of my... As thick as it was, the blade of my TS-80 was really good at this. Oh, so small, the pins of Maxim.
So small.
This is what we call the through-hole component, right?
Yes. Yeah. Thankfully, everything on this board is through hole. Well, and there's a few pieces. So these LEDs here, they are surface mounted, but blissfully, I didn't have to add them. Hand soldering anything surface mounted is generally a bad idea. You can, you probably shouldn't.
But it's so
It's when,
tempting.
you, it's when you start getting into the like solder with the microscope thing.
Yeah, I mean, even with this, a microscope wouldn't hurt, but it's not necessary.
You don't need to solder that the light switch that you put in it, right? The light that you just put in at the beginning.
Yeah, no, I've given it some, tacked it in with some solder,
Oh, I see.
thankfully.
But it was you didn't have to do the whole thing.
Is solder always lead?
I'm sorry?
Is solder always lead?
There is lead-free solder. I think it uses a lot of silver, to be honest.
Not gold?
That would
Don't want to
be-
feel fancy?
That would be too expensive. Yeah, leaded solder is generally used by hobbyists for its ease of use. If you want lead-free solder, you've generally got to pump a lot more heat through it, so it makes it a lot harder to, solder with.
Yeah, I guess if the component is going to be used in certain specific circumstances that,
Like in medical.
or that, situations that might be hostile to lead.
Yeah,
You need like a strap on the back of your
I
glasses.
think
or
I
something.
do, or actually just need to tune these glasses up somehow. Platinum, I believe, is very conductive. Generally, am I wrong in thinking that generally the higher you march up the periodic table? No, that does.
No.
Chemistry doesn't work that way.
No, I think gold is the most. It's just not used as often because of its rarity, and also we like its look, its aesthetic too much not to wear it.
Well, I mean, of course, all the circuit traces on a board are gold, but
Yeah.
This is one of those times when having cam would be good to have.
I think I remember reading that the amount of platinum that has been mined in the world could fit in the room that we're in right now.
Sounds about right.
yeah, it's not very much.
It's very rare.
Yeah, there's actually a great the people who do the periodic table videos did a great thing on a lab that does a whole bunch of the like platinum and sort of platinum and more expensive type metal refining, where they're basically taking ridiculously huge amounts of material and then refining it down. You get like some wire
Yeah.
out of 50 tons worth of stuff.
Like, people do not find nuggets of platinum
No.
in nature.
Well, it's just not formed that much. Okay, that's one socket in place with.
Oh yeah, iridium. That's a good one.
Oh, iridium. One of my favorite minerals. One of my favorite characters from Mass Effect.
Iridium?
Scanning planets. Iridium found.
Oh.
This-
And I'm the dummy here who's like, wait, that thing from Stardew?
This this lab where they're producing all this stuff, of course, they've got like, all this stuff with like special airlocks that blow all the stuff and special things that you to like get all the dust like off your feet and clothes and stuff.
Oh wow.
And then they can further extract the little minute particles that have clung to people's clothes as they have just sort of worked in the facility, just because it's so valuable.
Probably using static electricity or something, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure. They use brushes and all sorts of different stuff.
Probably did very, very strong filtration on the air.
Yeah, yeah. And then they apparently they use it's used a lot as a in order to as like a reaction catalyst.
Oh yeah, yeah. The catalytic converters.
So, but you can you can have an almost invisibly thin mesh of platinum or something
But
that will work for years and years and years. Like the amount that you require to actually do anything is teeny weeny, but you need just a little bit.
It needs to be there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of chemistry is really weird when you think about it. Like, you could fuse two hunks of iron together if they had zero oxidization on them. Like, they would just attach.
Crystalline structures.
Yeah, like any environment on Earth, pretty much, any naturally occurring one, like, as soon as that iron exists, it's oxidized on the surface. At least a little bit.
It happens almost instantaneously.
Mm-hmm.
The mind-blowing thing to me was just when I found out, wait a minute, metals are just crystals?
Yeah, yeah.
Because we think of metal as, we understand you can melt it. Like, oh, it's like Play-Doh, it's like putty.
Yeah.
You just get it to a high enough level and it melts out. But
I mean, technically true for anything, right?
yeah.
I love seeing the. I was another video I saw that was about the refining steel and the ridiculously huge amount of very specific, very tight tolerances they have for making all the billions of different types of steel. And if you hold it at this temperature for just a little bit longer, it turns into this kind of, and they have separate words for every single different type of steel thing, different amounts of carbon and different sizes of, and it all changes the properties of steel. Is very weird that way. There's so many different ways it can be produced.
Well, any alloy, right? Like, some are a bit more tolerant of being different in proportion, but any alloy gets kind of weird. Steel is just a very particular one, I guess.
Huh. Did I forget to solder some things in?
Uh-oh. Yeah, it's interesting to look up pictures of, gold crystals and silver crystals and, copper crystals.
They do look very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you look up the very unnatural-looking bismuth crystal, and then everyone's like, ooh, nature is so amazing, and we're like, that's lab-made, sorry. There's no such thing, at least on Earth, of a naturally forming bismuth crystal.
Oh, well. I do love how many of our conversations here on Tinker Tailor Solar Fry come back to praise for material science, though. Specifically with regards to the different types of steel and our knowledge of them.
My knowledge is barely anything.
It is ridiculous though that how much of the world's infrastructure is based around very particular formulations of different types of steel, and different ways of there's stuff everyone there was a while ago Apple did a whole thing where they were we've invented a new type of steel just for this one thing,
which I love. I love how much of life is not solved, and even just things like, hey, there are still new types of steel that we haven't made yet.
if we put 0.00000001% zinc into it, it gets like this entirely different property that we weren't expecting.
It has a nice zinky taste. That makes me wonder, what is the break-off point from it being steel to it being something else?
Well, that's the thing. There's a ton of different what the layperson calls steel is a combination of like 20 or 30 different like names of the different versions of steel.
Man.
Yeah, like I think it's kind of like beer in that respect. That beer is technically just grain mashed with yeast or mashed with hops, boiled and then fermented. That doesn't mean that any beer might taste like any other beer in any way.
I mean, for some people, they all taste like piss, but...
Well, I mean, that's like saying, like, okay, one of the properties of steel is that it is magnetically reactive.
that it tastes like piss. That is something I didn't know for years and years until, I guess, like grade 12 or whatever, like science. Like, there are only 4 magnetically active elements. I thought it was a more common thing.
Which ones are yours?
Iron, cobalt, I think magnesium was one or something.
I think there's a thing where, I mean, given a sufficient magnetic field, I think almost anything can be moved around.
I was going to say, because I was pretty sure that hydrogen, when in its metallic state, is ferrous in that respect. And nickel is magnetic.
Nickel. Oh yeah, nickel, cobalt, and iron are the 3 I remember. I think these were like a specific type of like natural magnet compared to like electrolytic magnet or whatever.
Yeah, naturally occurring magnets is a different story entirely.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, because that's you sort of melt it and then expose it to a magnetic field to get all the pieces to line up in the right way.
Actually, this is something that I think you might already know, Paul, but if you don't, you'll find fascinating. There are certain types of steel that are used in high precision instruments, like high precision detection grids, and we have, because of how sensitive these sensors are, you cannot use any steel that was produced after World War II because there's just enough residual radioactivity in the atmosphere and just everywhere now.
I love that.
We still have to make these materials. So do you know where we get it? They harvest the wrecks of pre-World War II battleships.
That's amazing.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I mean, I love, there's a thing with like carbon dating where they can't carbon date anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you can't carbon date anything after the first atomic bomb test.
Yeah, that just ruins that particular...
Because, yeah, the idea that everything in the entire world, across the entire world, has a very minute layer of radioactive material in it after that point is pretty incredible.
I don't like the feel of that, but like there's nothing I can do about it.
It's kind of the inverse to that whole inspirational thing of like, oh yes, you've probably breathed the same air that Napoleon did.
You're all made of stardust. Great.
I mean, that
makes sense why it's radioactive.
Yeah. So this is the first time I'm seeing this particular word brought up in chat. A cicerone? A beer sommelier?
I was not aware that such a thing existed.
Weird, because I would consider you one.
Sure, I'll take it.
Compared to me, anyway.
A beer sommelier. So I didn't realize that sommelier was
It's a wine thing.
only
right?
specific to wine.
specifically
Yeah.
wine.
Yeah.
Aye. All right, we're on our final one of these maxims, and that's going to...
It's a problem when you have so many little so many of those 8-segment LEDs. You need a lot of conversion things.
Yeah. That said, I mean, I'm really happy to have this many something that contains this many 8-segment LEDs.
It's true.
They're really cool. I was lamenting to Corey last night when we were talking that when I was a kid, my father rescued from the trash from his office building. And keep in mind, this was the very early 80s. A Nixie tube calculator. Now, mind you, this is a calculator that was the size of an IBM Selectrix typewriter,
Wow.
but it had, I
So
think,
those are like vacuum tubes with numbers in them,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
like and I sorely regret not saving that from the trash myself.
That's a weird phrase. A vacuum tube with numbers in it.
Yeah. I mean,
So they're kind of like they're filaments in the shape of numbers, so that inside the tube you've got the digits 1 through 0 or 1 through 9, 1 through 0.
I mean, yes, but
well,
yes,
yeah, well,
in,
sorry,
in a strange way. Yeah.
0 through 9.
Yeah.
And so based on what voltages you're sending to the various pins on the bottom of the tube, it lights up with the number, and there we go, right on the screen there.
Oh, one of those.
Yeah. And so I think it was God, how many segments did it have? 2. It was at least an 8 to 10 segment thing, and Nixie tubes are not cheap. So just being able to have rescued those Nixie tubes would have made me quite happy.
It's weird. Like, they could have used the same system that 8-segment LEDs do. Like, you think it would have been way more efficient to do it that way rather than actually like having all the different possible. Like, did they actually have like 10 filaments or 9 filaments?
Yeah.
Or 10 filaments.
10 filaments, yeah.
Did they actually have all of the separate filaments in there
Yeah.
rather than just lighting up different parts of one thing? You think that would have been even without the digital aspect of the LED stuff? You think even using the tubes, it would have been better to do it that way?
Like, I think that's one of those things where you never really. It's the connections effect. It's like the reason that the Nixie tube works the way it works is because it's working off of vacuum tube technology, which
Right,
was
yeah.
like sort of the solved problem and the high tech at the time. And the concept of the 8-segment display didn't actually come about until we needed to make numbers with these brand new LED things.
Although it does mean you get like the cool font, which you can't get on a regular LED, on the LED display.
Yeah.
When you get I think you get a warmer. Okay. You know, when you're using tubes, you're really looking for warmth and
Oh
good
my God.
eye feel in your segments.
Wow. See, now I look at these Nixie tube photos coming up in chat, and I'm like, oh, that's what they're referencing with the countdown things in the beginning of Final Fantasy VII.
Yup. Yeah, they're kind of shorthand for just past for atomic age. Yeah, they're shorthand for atomic age technology.
Me, being
very-
a youth, didn't get that.
Yeah, it's the very sort of Fallout or whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's our Maxim sockets.
The Maxims
Installed.
are Max on.
The Maxim.
The Maxims are Max on.
Maxim slit.
Yeah, man.
slips? Slot.
Over the years, Maxim has really changed a lot. From it used to be a whole computer chip thing.
Yeah, from a lads magazine to chip manufacturer to lads magazine again. All right. Well, I'm going to say this is probably a good time for us to take a short break because we've come up to the hour. So don't go away. We're going to do some more of this open DSKY assembly after this. Go cycle your fluids. Welcome back to Tinker Tailor Solder Fry, the Let's Try program here on Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network. My name's Ian Horner, and today we are continuing on with our Open DSKY kit, which is DS keyboard. I forget what the DSKY was. Anyway, the point is it's an Apollo guidance computer. You can build it yourself if you can acquire the kit. We were graciously given a kit by Anonymous List, and we are just finished putting our Maxim sockets in. And I was talking with Paul during the break, and we were admiring the circuit design on these things, talking about the concept of circuit design itself. Just thinking about specifically something like this that's a replica, and the sort of thoughts that must go into building a circuit board. Because you know what parts you're going to need. In a certain case like this, you're going to need buttons with LEDs. You're going to need 8-segment displays, and they have to be in a certain thing because it's a replica. So where do you put the other parts? And you actually end up with things like this array of the one of the Maxim slots just going over the areas that are going to be covered by the 8-segment LED, 7-segment. That's right. 4, 5, 6, 7. 7.
Why did I think? I guess I'm thinking 8 just because they're like when they're all lit up, it's an 8.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Good. We don't have to do the capacitors yet. Next up, we are going to be preparing the IMU by soldering. You know what? Instructions: stop gendering chips. Prepare the IMU by soldering his male pins and jumping his ADO pin. I don't know.
Perhaps in and out works better.
There. Regardless, I need to find the IMU. Which is the IMU? You are not IMU.
What does IMU stand for?
Solder. Wait, is it solder their male pin? Wait,
They're in pins.
They're in pins. They're outie innies and outies.
And jumping its ADO pin to its VCC. Okay, so this is the device, and we are going to need to get the male pins on. Interestingly, it comes with a sideways, a right angle pin adapter.
Ooh.
And a straight through pin adapter. And I think we're probably going to end up using the straight through because that seems to be what we want. And they're suggesting using a breadboard for that, but I don't have one of those with me at the moment, so maybe we'll just use the tape trick again.
Are you not going to use both of the pin adapters?
No.
Or did they give you an extra?
Yeah, they give. Well, it's not so much an extra as it is
A stylistic choice?
well, it's a different choice. So for what we're using,
An incorrect choice.
well, it's going to be going here. So it needs to be flat, so it doesn't make any. If we were to use the other pins, see, this gets it nice and flat on the board. If we were to use this pin set, which has the pins coming in at a right angle, so I guess we could do it that way.
It'd be going up and down.
Yeah, then we get to have this big ole IMU jutting out the side, and I don't think that's what they intended.
What? Why would you want to have that? Is that
Why would they give you that then? Yeah.
I guess there's some situations where maybe you do want that.
I guess it gives you access to both sides of that chip if you need to do something else to it.
Yeah, or if it needs to be screwed in somewhere else, or if you need to insert it. Right angle pins are a handy thing to have around, but we don't need them today. But I do need to get some wire in there in a second. Anyway, let's start by just soldering it in place. I'm going to give it a quick paint with the... Ooh, there we go. We should call all connectors penetrative and receptive instead of gendering them.
I mean, in and out seems better than that.
How about pokey?
Pokey and holy.
Pokey
Pokey and Gumby.
Pokey and
Pokey and Gumby.
poked? I don't know.
Like if it's something that goes in now it's called a Gumby. Oh wait, that's a pokey, right? The Gumby would be the whole side. Welcome.
Hi.
Alright, let's start by tacking one in here. Anything weird? There we go. And that's tacky enough that that'll stay.
Is that the
Nice.
new name? Tacky?
That's a different thing. All right. All right. And that was the ground pin. Next up is the SCL pin.
The sky pin?
Yes, SCL, the school pin.
And then next, the king pin.
I mean, it's the SDA pin next, but sure. Sure, the king pin. Isn't kingpin actually a term for something?
Villain in Spider-Man.
Yeah, an actual mechanics term, I mean.
Oh.
Or an engineering term.
I don't know. The only one that I have on my mind lately is the Jesus nut on helicopters. Just because of the name.
The Jesus nut.
Yeah. If that one falls off, all you can do is pray.
Ah.
Because I think it keeps the entire, like, blade column together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Boy, I should find a way to use that on Corpline.
Jesus nut? Yeah. It's a relative of the macadamia nut.
Jesus, take the nut. Or a good. I wish I'd brought my very fine wire today.
Why wouldn't they just put a linchpin through the nut?
That's a good point.
I'm not a mechanic, so I don't know.
Maybe they do.
Yeah.
Maybe they just want to call it the Jesus nut.
Yeah.
If you had that opportunity, would you not take it?
I think it's like supposed to be. It's like Jesus wept, except it's Jesus nut.
Jesus nut.
Oh, or the Jesus pin is a slang term for the main rotor retaining nut. Interesting.
Aha.
So it does have a pin, I guess.
I guess it's more of a legume then.
Wow. Okay, I think that they gave me a tiny piece of wire in here somewhere. God knows if I can.
Did you lose it?
Probably not. Unless
No,
I-
you just haven't found it yet. You haven't lost
Exactly, right? Right. Don't need that until later. These are also not necessarily until later. That's not necessarily for this construction at all.
it. How tiny is this piece of wiring?
It might, like it's going to be about 1 centimeter in length total.
That's a bar.
Exactly, right? Okay. You know what? They might not have even given me the wire for it. Which means...
You can just snip off part of your solder and use it as a wire, right?
Actually,
That's a good idea, right?
Yeah, that won't short on anything at all. I'm pretty sure I've got some wire in one of these drawers here. And if need be, I can always go to the Dreamcast box.
And scrap it for parts.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I'm going to make a quick trip to the box of Naomi and grab a wire from there. No.
In the meantime, how's your samosa beach?
Samosa-ing.
Mm.
I added ketchup.
Oh.
So there were other condiments in the fridge, and I didn't want to try any of them. I was just like, I'll just try the ketchup. Because why not?
Ketchup's reliable.
It's a little dry, and it came with some, like, pineapple chutney, which is really good, but then I ate all the chutney.
On its own?
No, well, I had more than one samosa, and I realized I'd eaten my way through it too fast. So.
25 feet.
Hey! actually don't know why I'm cheering.
25 feet of samosa. That's what we want.
Do they sell samosa by the foot? Wow, it's the flavor that all the kids are clamoring for. Samosa by the foot.
That sounds like the name of a monastery.
The only savory fruit snack. Fruit snack.
Good.
Food snack. All right. Let's make this a little bit bigger than it needs to be because,
Redundancy.
yeah. I was listening to Rush's 2112 the other day, and I was surprised just how much Asian riff they've got in that album.
In a good way or a bad way?
It's almost it's egregious.
In a good way or a bad way?
I'm gonna say bad.
That word can mean both.
I mean, it was in a song about Bangkok, so
Okay.
give them that. All right, let's tin the ends of this wire. So ready for soldering.
Don't breathe those fumes in.
Try not to, but that delicious solder smell.
I prefer a samosa smell to a solder smell.
Well, I mean, to each their own.
Yeah.
Okay, ADO to his VCC.
Yeah, Brooklyn!
ADO. Okay, maybe I can trim this just a bit. These tips. There we go.
There was some all-purpose sauce in the fridge.
All purpose?
Yeah, all-purpose sauce. And I was tempted and then realized that if I'm going to go on stream, I shouldn't eat unfamiliar food.
Sauced or not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like the term all-purpose sauce.
Well, I mean, we're all entitled to our own opinions.
Like, can you put it on a bagel? Can you put it in spaghetti? Can you put it on a cake? If you can put it on all three, then there's a problem.
That's an icing then.
Yeah. Or is it a frosting?
Ooh, frosted bagel.
Isn't that peanut butter?
Yeah, you can frost with peanut butter.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna tell you what you do.
You can put peanut butter in spaghetti.
Huh?
Yeah. You can put peanut butter in spaghetti. They do that in Thailand,
Okay.
right? Peanut sauces and stuff are, basically a crushed up peanut thing. Just add some other stuff to it.
Yeah.
And then peanut butter on, what was the first thing you mentioned?
Bagel.
You could put peanut butter in a bagel.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think peanut butter is kind of like, it's a very neutral, like, there's no highs and lows about it, right? It's kind of just
Yeah.
peanuts.
And sugar, depending on where you're getting the peanut butter.
I don't buy mine with sugar, so
There you
yeah.
go.
I add my own.
That's what the cake's for.
Yeah.
All right. Pin has been jumped. Now the line leveler. Or as I call it, the levelator. By soldering their male pin on low side and high side.
I don't know why you have to call it a male pin. You could just call it a pin, right?
Oh,
Yeah. You're right. Yeah.
yeah.
What the hell?
Good point.
Because it's either a pin or a socket.
Yeah. Sure is.
Otherwise, you're just docking.
And, well, I mean, hey, I do believe the Apollo guidance computer will help you with that, too.
There is a NASA guide to the correct kind of docking you do between two wires, though, right?
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a whole soldering thing that if you're gonna join two dissimilar wires together.
Yep. And you got to wrap them around each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, did I not bring my pins? I think I didn't.
Uh-oh.
I mean, we're not going to finish everything today. Hey, there's a force token in here too. Yeah, I think I neglected to bring my bag of extra pins.
But you have so much room in that bag.
I do have a goodly amount. There's even floss in here.
Oh.
Okay, so looks like we might not be able to finish that portion. Huh. Got stuff in there I didn't know about. Unless it's over here elsewhere. Just want to double check because sometimes I put things in creative places. Today appears not. Hey, wait a minute. We've got these 90-degree pins, which
We're not using for anything else?
I mean, we probably is not the right way to go here.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
Where does this need to go on the? Oh yeah,
It goes on the board?
yeah.
I believe?
we're not using these right angle pins for that. That would not make any sense.
But it would be fun. That's what we're here to have.
Maybe.
Well, that was almost a yes and.
Okay, I need to cut and solder the female pins
Female pins?
to receive the IMU, the VA RTC, and the line leveler.
So Real Gamer Cow pointed out that there are such a thing as hollow pins, and you could refer to them as female pins.
Oh no.
Would that not be like,
It would be a tube, wouldn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
a socket
Yeah.
of some sort?
This metal tube.
Yeah. A flute.
All right. Yeah, we're not going to be doing that because I forgot all of those. That's okay. We'll get around to it in the future because this is not going to be the last time we work on this. Oh, there we go. Anarin's got the
Yeah, the linesman splice.
yeah.
Yeah. I like that too, because it's like first do a big twist, then do a bunch of really tight twists, then turn on the blur filter in Photoshop.
Yeah. Hashtag no filter.
No. No, comma, filter. Okay, so next up we need to solder some caps respecting polarity. So we can receive those, or we can get those other pins in later. So let's start by... Wow, what an interesting pin header.
In a good way, or?
Interesting. All right, let's count out our caps and make sure we have all the ones we need. 10 caps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, as is our wont.
Well, that's too many, Ian. I
Too
don't know
many
what we're going to
caps.
do.
Too many caps.
Too many caps.
This all goes on that side. So the positive is the longer pin is positive.
Are you positive?
That's what the sheet says.
Great.
Longer pin positive. Longer pin on that side.
I guess that's like an optimistic thing, right? There's more of the pin. So it's like, I feel good about that.
It's a pin half full kind
Yeah.
of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be exciting when we end up soldering all these 8-segment displays. Okay.
You mean 7-segment displays?
Yes,
or-
exactly. 7-segment displays. That's exactly what I said.
A segmented 8 display.
I like how you tripped over that though, because you were like, I know what I'm saying is not accurate, but what was wrong about it?
Yeah.
Oh, Oh, you mean my daily speech?
True. Same.
Not what I meant to point out, but
I mean, that's relatable.
Okay, thread these through first, and then we'll worry about. Soldering them. These are slightly less neat and tidy, but still neat enough.
We're at the point in the show where you don't care as much.
No, I do care.
Okay.
I want to make this a nice thing for us. Because we should be able to have nice things.
Sounds nice anyway. As a thought.
Yeah, it's a nice thought thing. Nice thought technology. Alright, that's through there. Bend those over. One over here.
Is there a particular reason why they color those tan like that?
It's... You know what? I think it's tradition at this point.
Okay. It just looks kind of... It always struck me as kind of weird to make it like a fleshy, bulbous thing.
Like, I think there might be some amount of history in here as well, but...
I would assume it's one of those things where it's like, this is the second cheapest ink we can use, and we want these things to stick out. Because diodes are normally blue, to my mind, whenever I see them in my head.
Well, that's true. Those are diodes.
Yeah.
This is not a diode. These are capacitors.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Ah, yeah.
But I'm like, diodes are normally blue. Capacitors are normally yellow or tan. Resistors are usually like that light beige, but they have the bands of color on them, so they have to be beige because the color has to stick out. You know, and integrated circuits are always black.
Unless they're red or blue. You know, from cool companies.
Which one's cooler, the red one or the blue one?
Actually, you know what? I like red circuit boards, to be honest.
But I thought the blue ones were the ones with a cool temper.
Let me tell you, after growing up, after going through the age of blue LEDs, I'm fucking done with blue.
Yeah.
They really blew it.
Yeah, they did. All right, there should be just one more capacitor that I need to find here. Somewhere around here. Have you gone? That is not suitable for you.
I'm happy that most TVs now have adopted a model where it's like, if they're on, you see the white LED come on briefly and then turn itself off. And then when it's off for good, the white LED like turns like yellow or something else. But it's like, I'm in standby mode now, so I'm gonna light this tiny little LED to let you know that I'm still getting power, but I'm not on.
Yeah.
I'm currently consuming vampire power.
Yeah. But at least when the TV is on, it's like, I'm going to turn this light off because you don't need to be looking at me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's redundant at that point.
All right, let's start applying solder to wire
Sounds like a plan.
for purposes of make current.
Speaking of TVs, I was reminded of my old family TV that was like a CRT, like heavy box thing with like faux wood paneling on the sides.
Yeah.
And how the Final Fantasy VIII remasters come out recently. And looking at it on the big TV, or like computer screens or whatever, it doesn't really look that good anymore. It looked better on the old CRT.
That's actually not that uncommon, especially for games that were made even earlier, non-3D ones.
Yeah.
Like they're made with the assumption that they'll be played on CRTs.
Yeah. Well, it's like the original Silent Hill. Like, the tension comes from the lo-fi look of it, as well as other things. Mm-hmm. And that looks better on an old CRT.
I'm just thinking of things like the the anti-aliasing that comes automatically from being on a phosphor-based.
Mm. All I know is that when I had that thought go through my mind, I was like, yep, I'm turning 30.
Oh, you've got a ways to go, my friend.
I only have a couple months until 30, and I don't have that long.
You got to start looking forward to your 40s, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's when you might be able to afford your first house.
Mm. But why would I want a house?
I want to stop paying other people rent. I want to live in a house I don't own and not pay rent for it. That's squatting.
I want to squat. I've had all kinds of rights, but I've never had squatters' rights.
Oh, apparently we're having an election soon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't listen to the news that often, so I just was in the car and I'm like, oh yeah, and in 39 days I'm like, oh shit, okay, get on the all right, we're in for it.
I heard something interesting. There is a proposal for our democratic system in BC coming up that has like a 90%,
93% if I'm
93%
thinking the same one you are.
acceptance,
Oh yeah.
or like a yay compared to the day vote,
yeah.
is getting rid of
Daylight savings.
daylight savings.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That'll be cool.
I like how we've only really brought it up to the politicians' level now, but 90% of the population here supports.
It's just like
the
we're
change.
done with this. We don't.
Yeah.
It is a relic and we don't need it.
It was like getting rid of the pennies.
Yeah. Funny, right? It's like for years everyone's like, oh, but the penny, we couldn't ever get rid of it. Could we get rid of the penny? And then finally everyone's like, what if we just did?
And then we did.
Yeah. You know, that's how it happens, right? It happens like slowly then suddenly, like going out of business.
Yeah.
Have I got all of them? Not yet.
Now we just need to get rid of the nickel and the dime.
Don't worry, they're coming for all of our money.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Matt. A lot of people are working very hard to make sure that we don't get any nickels or dimes anymore.
We call those people.
Oh, you call them people?
Oh, now there's a person. There's a person inside of all of us.
Everyone is trying to be happy and trying to also be the hero of their own story.
Yeah. Just some people like watching. Some people like being in DC movies.
Yeah, I calmed down a bit when I realized it through my 20s. I was like, everyone in the world is just trying to be the hero of their own story, and all they really want to be is happy. And not everybody has the same definition for what happiness is, but it's like, but when you think that, you're like, oh, okay, that helps me identify how completely screwed up some people's value systems are. But at least I know that they're just trying to be happy.
Yeah. And that's why I feel more bad for people when it seems to me that they've lost track of how to get to that happy.
Yeah.
And they're just kind of in the mires of being frustrated or whatever.
Yeah. But we're all just looking for happiness.
Yeah. I've had a food service job. I know what it's like to be in that kind of emotional state.
Did you watch that Kyrgyzstan video where they animated the short story of the egg?
No.
It's very good. The story, it's called The Egg, and I can't remember who wrote it again. But the video is this animated. It's an animation where it's like you died, and you were hit by a truck, and don't worry, you didn't feel anything.
Oh yes, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you come to, and there's somebody there, and you start talking like, "Are you God?" And they're like, "I suppose you could think of it that way."
Sure. Why not?
And you go, and it's a really interesting, like, it's a really nice way of thinking what mankind really is.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right, cool, I'm down with this. This is fun.
You're down with being an egg.
Well, yeah, living in this egg, right? And I'm kind of like, okay, you know what? If you're willing to just stop and remember the fact that it's like, wait, if everybody on the planet is just all the same, like they're all just different facets of me, then, you know, what does that actually mean? How can I actually bear any real malice against people? But then you think about what some people do, and you're like, oh, well, okay.
That's a very funny way to express that, because a lot of people hate themselves.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of people who do really destructive shit to other people, and you're like, what would have made me decide to do that?
Yeah.
At the end of the story, God comes down out of the speech bubble and hands you a Toronto Maple Leafs jersey.
It shakes your hand. Oh, one of our... I used to carry a big nickel around Urquhart. I got a Sudbury big nickel as a frickin' souvenir one time. I never been to Sudbury. I just happened to get one, and I used to carry it around as something to fiddle with in my pocket. This is before I was in adolescence.
I've decided now I just want to refer to God as God, or as we call him in Canada, Monsieur Riton.
I was gonna be like Maurice Richard.
I think you'll find that's Gordie Howe. The great one.
How would I refer to them?
Monsieur Riton. Gord, sorry. Where does this go?
On
Solder
the board.
reed relay. Ah, yes, my favorite of the Fantastic Four. Reed relay. Reed relay goes... right there. Respecting his orientation.
So, okay, hang on. So you take your Human Torch to solder the reed relay to the thing.
That's right. Because we're making a thing.
And the fourth one is also present.
I don't know how we work Sue Richards into this at all.
I mean, they're always with us. We just can't see them. You see those parts? You see that part in the sand where there's only one set of footprints? That's where the Human Torch carried you off. And Sue Storm was there, but you can't see her because she's invisible.
Oh.
Fantastic.
I feel like if you wrote Fantastic Four stories, every single one of them would end with something like that. With just Reed Richards going, fantastic, at the very end.
I mean, that's how he got his. Or that's how he declared his name, right?
Right,
It's like
yeah.
I guess I'm on fire all the time, so I'll be the Human Torch. I'm invisible, so I'll be the Invisible Girl. I ain't much of a man no more, so I'll call myself the Thing. And I'm Mr. Fantastic.
Hey, what the fuck, Reed?
Isn't he known as one of the most, asshole-ish characters?
He's very Tony Stark.
Yeah.
He's beyond what's his name, Scott Summers. Like if you had to rank the assholes of the Marvel universe, Reed Richards would be an Omega level asshole. Where was I going?
Yeah, that is a Norm Macdonald bit that we just did.
Is it?
Yes, I'm pretty sure it is. It's like it's a piece of his stand-up. Thank you, Ito Meshi, for reminding me of whose it was.
Yeah, cite your comedy. Using MLA format.
Unless you've canceled the
I
Canadian,
know, right, Beej?
in which case you own it. Chicago forever. Don't at me.
But what if I want to?
Just said.
Then right at me. Then come at me. Don't at me or come at me. That's all I ask.
How have I not heard that before? That's a really strong line.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's t-shirt material.
That's t-shirt material. That's not loading ready run t-shirt
no,
material.
let's be clear.
That's a
Redbubble.
yeah. You're gonna see that shit on Zazzle pretty quick.
That's Adam Savadan. t-shirt.
That's a challenge, is what that is. Yeah, that's the kind of shit that gets done up in like brush script, and you can buy at the mall.
Ooh, wow. Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
It also says that I'm a forklift operator.
Yeah, I'm a forklift operator. Don't at me or come
Oh,
at me.
Jesus, I'm a social media. I'm a social media expert.
That's what we need. Is one of those kind of shirts. Right?
Oh no.
Yeah.
And there's a bulldog on there.
And my passion is graphic design. See, has anyone actually done one of those ironic T-shirts, or would everyone not be able to tell if it's ironic?
I don't think they would.
Beyond a certain level, you wouldn't be able to tell if it's ironic.
Exactly.
Okay. Got that?
Exactly.
Pork chop sandwiches. Fensler film, 2000. If we're citing our bits here.
Absolutely.
Solder in the wire terminal, which I can do as well.
I thought the whole thing was a wire terminal. But I'm not an electrician, so.
This is a wire terminal. It allows you to screw wire into it in a terminal fashion. And it goes next to the buck converter, which is named after Buckminster Fuller, inventor of the... Nope.
Star of Fuller House.
Yeah, thank you. Inventor of Fuller House. And Rebecca Romajan Stamos. So was she married to John Stamos?
Yes!
Okay, good.
Beej has emotions about
For
this.
years! Conan O'Brien got very upset about that.
And so did you.
I didn't. I was just like... oh. Then, the weird thing is, they got divorced. And I don't understand why. I mean, because it's not none of my fucking business.
I was going to say, have you seen John Stamos?
Yeah, but it's like... But then I think she started going out with Jerry O'Connell.
Wow, that's a weird lateral move.
Right?
I mean, does that mean that we're due for a reboot of Sliders? Because if we can keep John Rhys Davies on board, I'm in.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe she just wanted someone with a secret identity. I got horribly confused.
It's weird, too, because whenever I picture Rebecca Romaine, I actually just always first picture Lori Loughlin, who was married to John Stamos on Full House. That's who I picture first.
Oh.
It's...
Whenever I picture her, I picture lettuce.
So I didn't 100% remember that Lori Loughlin wasn't Rebecca Romaine.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah. I think we might all do that. I'm not
She
sure.
played Mystique. She could be anyone.
Exactly.
Right?
I don't know why I can't tie into her face like immediately, but I think Mystique has part to do with that, because the blue throws me off, and so I can't get my head around it.
Oh boy. Okay, we're starting to get into the land of Dairy Queen with these.
Dairy Queen.
You're all right there.
That was some 1987 deep dive bullshit right there. I can't believe that.
And that's why I didn't get it.
The land of
Dairy Queen, we treat you right.
And now it's fan food. Right.
Go on, then.
What I'm going to do here, try to decide, should I have how many... Well, let's see how long these take to solder in. We'll start with the special ones. Oh, God, how do they work? Solder all three Geotronics 3 segments, custom plus minuses. Which way do they go? Does it matter? God, I hope it does.
You hope it does?
Well, no, I hope it doesn't, actually, because Okay, you know what? I'm actually going to not do these ones just yet, because I am uncertain as to which direction they need to be soldered in. And that would really matter. And I'd really not like to F these up because they are custom components.
Yeah.
I can't just order these from our good friends at SparkFun.
Could you not 3D print them yourself?
No, because these have these have integrated electronics into them as well.
Oh,
Like it's probably a case where I need to match up to up, but I don't trust myself just yet on that. So let's do an 8-segment display. Let's do a couple. Let's see how this goes.
what if you put that upside down?
Well, I will do my best not to. I know these ones I actually know I can't install upside down because they have decimal points, and the decimal point tells me what direction it needs to go because the decimal point needs to be in the lower right.
I mean, a 2 upside down is still a 2, but
Yeah, but a decimal point that's at the top left of the number is something else.
it's dandruff.
There we go. Okay, let's hold that in place. Ooh, hello. You're right next to that that capacitor.
Oh, did it?
No, everything's
Yes.
fine.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
Is it going
These
to
are-
short at all?
No, there's not going to be any shorting. The tolerances on this are pretty good.
It's good to be tolerant.
It's important. But you have to work within your tolerances. All right, that looks good. Oh, hold on, we got something here from Anna, and also the pinout does not have rotational symmetry, so putting it upside down breaks it. Yes, that's important, especially for these, which I should maybe show people.
Oh,
Here we go.
1 second. Is that as tight as we can get?
yeah.
There we go. So as you can see, they've got 3 pins on each side, 2 and then a break and 1, and then on the other side of it is 3 in a row. And I don't know which way goes which. So I will probably put in a request. I'll send them a support email to them and say, hey, just so I don't screw this up, which way do I put this in?
You can make a request of NASA? I was going to say NASA.
Not NASA. Leviosa.
NASA, I'm not going to make a request.
It's like our friend Lil Network Attached Storage 10.
Oh, I know him.
Yeah, he hit the he beat the record.
Oh, good.
So many remixes. I am so excited for the new album from Neil C.
Oh, I was going to make a joke like, oh yeah, I'm excited for Neil C's new album as well.
Yeah,
But you just went right there.
yeah, no,
It's imminent.
it's coming in soon.
What's the theme?
Well, it's part of the mouth cycle.
Okay. The mouth cycle.
I hope that's what he calls it,
I
actually.
hope so too.
Is he going to call it mouthwash?
I don't know.
I hope he does at some point name one mouthwash.
Because it's been mouth sounds, mouth silence,
And mouth moods.
mouth moods. Yeah. Yeah.
What's another? Not Pet Shop Boys.
You're thinking like Beach Boys.
Yeah,
like,
Beach Boys.
Like Pet Sounds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Pet Moods.
My favorite album of his personally is Spirit Phone, just because of how cohesive it is.
Well, the nice thing about Spirit Phone is that that's an album you can own on vinyl.
In multiple colors now, too.
Well, that went well, that particular one. Let's try another. I have to make sure that
I guess you can't, like, test them after you put them in, can you?
No, there's when you're dealing with chips that require a driver like this, there's not really any way for you to test them other than just bringing them online, which would require the bringing of the entire thing online. That's good. You're in there. You're locked. You're happy. A pig on antibiotics. Paint that up there. Just so we can get some nice, good joints going. Okay, let's get in and continue on. Everything is so small and shiny here that I'm worried I'm bridging some of these solder points, but again, because because I've fluxed it up so hard, it's actually some of the best joints I've done.
Good to hear. It's nice to have a good joint every once in a while, right?
Yep.
And here you have like 16 in a row.
Yeah. That's
Nobody died from that many joints, I don't think.
no. There is no lethal dose.
No,
Okay, it has to have an LD50. Let's be
it
fair.
does. It does. It's just not feasible in
That's
any
the thing
time.
about CBD, man. There's no lethal dose. It's literally no lethal dose. We get it. You're happy that weed's legal. Calm down.
We get it. You vape.
Also, I don't know why I have to tell the CBD heads to calm down.
Yeah. Did you hear that news item that Juul, the Juul company, whatever, apparently they go to high schools and talk to the kids?
Yup.
Yeah.
Yeah. We give them space to advertise in schools.
It's weird
It's
to me.
super weird to me.
Yeah. Is that happening in Canada or is that in the United States?
I sure as hell hope it's not happening in Canada.
Yeah.
I doubt it happens in Canada.
And I like that. I like that they're probably thinking that they're like, oh well, if we're gonna, you don't want kids on campus to smoke, then I guess this is a better alternative. And it's like obviously there's no research that bears that out. But even just the idea of like, we don't want kids to do X. Hey, let's pay for a company who is trying to market to these kids to come on and market to these kids.
I mean, like, number one, they should be paying for the privilege. Number two,
Yeah.
They should not have the opportunity to pay for
Yeah.
that privilege.
Now that I think about it, remember those multimedia presentations they would do where they'd come to your school with the big, like, 3 screens?
Oh, yeah.
And they were always sponsored by Pepsi.
Partial credit.
And I never really gave a shit too much about Pepsi then or now. But now that I think about it, I'm like, oh yeah, they were getting pride of place in the school for that.
You know what I think I'm going to do here? I think I'm going to get a couple more of these segments in, and I think we might call it a day at that point, given where we're at here. Let's throw those in.
you want to check how those are lining up with the face on, or?
No, this is the nice thing about pin-based things like this is they will line up. Period.
They don't have an option.
Yeah, they are keyed into position. I do want to make sure I can peel the coating off of the 8-segment display, though.
Yeah, that's something about advertising that people don't always think about, is that it's not necessarily, it doesn't need to be positive advertising, it just needs to be aware advertising.
Yeah.
Like, just get the name out there,
Yeah.
right?
There is definitely such a thing as bad press, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But a lot of that also depends on the quality of the bad press and how bad you will be reviled in the public for having your name associated with that.
Yeah, like the axiom, there's no such thing as bad press, doesn't mean that everything that ever gets printed is good about you.
Yeah.
What it means is that you have the ability to spin stories about you. Like there's a great episode of Under the Influence, the CBC podcast on marketing and advertising, which is fantastic. Check it out wherever you find podcasts. That talks about some of the greatest blunders that companies have gone through and how they handled it. And I'd love to see him revisit this in 10 years when we finally get around to seeing what Boeing does about their about the 737 Max. But the big one before that he mentioned was Tylenol. Back before they started putting the safety caps on everything, there was a time when there was a huge amount of tainted Tylenol that went out. And Tylenol, I think is it Johnson & Johnson? Whatever the company is that's behind Tylenol, did a masterful job of not spinning, but owning the problem, rectifying the problem quickly.
And then owning that they rectified it.
Exactly, yeah. So it didn't... I don't know if it turned out... Well, it didn't turn out necessarily to be a positive for the company, but it definitely could have gone much, much worse than it did.
Yeah, there are lots of things that... Like, there was an episode I heard of Under the Influence that talked about big blunders that were advertised that was, like, actually very unhealthy products.
Mm-hmm.
One of the big ones being asbestos.
Ah.
It was a miracle product back in the day.
I mean, in a way, it is. Like, it's still very good at what it does.
Yeah.
Again, it's one of those things where humanity got in the way.
I mean, radium is also very good at what it does.
Mm-hmm.
Which is poison people,
Yes.
among other things.
But that's the thing about asbestos is that it's only really a problem if you disturb it.
Yeah.
That was definitely drilled into me when I worked in a place that had asbestos wrapped on the pipes.
Yep.
I'm like, this is asbestos. They're like, yep. I'm like, well, why is it here? It's like, because it's an insulator. And I'm like, well, shouldn't we get rid of it? And it's like, no. Why not? Well, because it's fine if you don't touch it, so don't touch it. Don't even go near it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Just avoid it.
Yep.
Seal it up. Sarcophagize it.
That is a big aspect of property management, is asbestos management and remediation, which can be very, very expensive.
Especially here in BC.
Yeah.
Like, for some reason, asbestos wasn't quite as popular in Alberta. Also, I think that might have something to do with the prairie architecture
Probably. Yeah.
and how terrible it is.
No love lost for your homeland?
Well, specifically prairie architecture, the clapboard aesthetic.
Mm. You're clapping back on that.
Yep. Not a fan.
I'm interested to see what the next wave of architectural style is, because right now we have something that I think I've heard the term blobitecture been applied to it, like just kind of glass and concrete and wooden blobs.
Yeah, we've kind of we've managed to escape the straight glass or the geometrically straight glass and steel architecture.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we started adding some more organic, I guess you could say, features to it.
Yeah. What I'm here for is living walls.
Oh yeah, no, I am super here for living walls.
It's a natural insulator both ways,
And
it looks nice.
a while back I got to go to a person's house who had a living wall in their basement. as their backdrop for their computer and streaming setup.
Oh.
It was gorgeous, and I wanted it.
I would think having one inside would be a problem for humidity.
It was a very big room.
Oh, okay. Like a loft room kind of thing?
Well, not really, but it was just quite a large room, and
Oh, just-
it wasn't the entire wall, but it was most of the wall.
About as big as Studio C here, actually.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was in a basement as well, so it would already be kind of supposedly cool and dank. So it's like, it
Let's make the problem worse.
it was like you only had to. It was all being done hydroponically, after fashion too. It wasn't like big open bits of dirt and that kind of stuff. It was literally like small rails installed along a wall, but had lots of little plants growing out of them. And it was all being monitored with drip irrigation.
Extremely lush, which was beautiful.
Super cool setup.
It would cool the room down as well.
It would do that too, yeah.
And probably baffled sound quite nicely.
Yeah. Yeah.
We probably can't do living walls in the moon base.
I was going to suggest, think that, we probably don't want to do that just because it would not live very long.
Yeah.
We don't have any plants here, I just noticed.
Yeah, we don't.
They would die.
Yeah, fair.
Well, I think
Alright.
actually Kathleen would look after them. Let's be fair. Hey, you got 4 on.
Yeah, we got there. So I think that's where we're going to call this episode today. That feels good. Which means, just looking at what we got to do here, I think we actually will be done by the end of the next episode.
Dang.
We're definitely on track. So let me just unplug the soldering iron before I get too much into any of my spiels here, so I can not kill myself with that. Perfect. Okay. Oh, well, thank you everyone for joining us today here on Tinker Tailor Solder Friday Night. We've been working on the DSKY Apollo guidance computer, and we'll continue to do that again actually next week, because I believe we are returning once again. We're doing a back-to-back TTSF this month. So be ready for that. But what else should people watch out for here on the Loading Ready Run Video Entertainment Network?
Wow.
Yeah, WoW classic. The classic WoW.
Wow.
WoW to get inside your head and make you less alert. This is this is James playing his hunter on WoW Classic starting tomorrow morning. He's basically filling the play it forward slot until
With WoW.
Heather is ready to get her play it forward slot together, I think.
Ooh, we haven't put out what her what
No,
she's
we're
playing.
not talking about that.
Rad.
It's just very good, is what it is.
And then Friday Night Paper Fight immediately
Hey.
after that. So look at that. It's a Modern Masters 2015 draft.
Yeah, we're going to reduce the amount of residual value that's in this room.
There's a lot of it. Then bringing us right into Adam's Game House, where he's playing more Persona 5.
Anime.
And, oh dear, look at what it is.
It's back.
It's a stressful day for us.
Loading Radio Live, 6 p.m. Pacific.
We're looking forward to do that for you. Then bringing us right into Rhythm Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing, Ian?
We are going to be playing Songbird Symphony for real this time.
Oh, nice.
So it should be fun. It's a burb game, and I am for burb game.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to have Dice Friends returning on Monday for episode 6.
Where I am a burb.
Where you... And we see Mine
Going
O'Clock,
down.
obviously, Talking Sim, and Let's Snope. I'm doing this fast for
Yep.
a reason, because it's AFK, and then Lure MTG Thursday morning, and then Tinker Tailor obviously wraps around because the PPR is next week. That's why I was skipping through everything so fast. So that is coming up on the 20th. Everything is landing on the 20th.
The Throne of Eldraine.
Link's Awakening comes out on the 20th. The frickin' new iPhones are supposed to be out on the 20th, I think, right? Like, everything is landing on the 20th.
So I am now coming into two minds of Link's Adventure, or Link's Awakening.
Yeah.
Because it occurred to me when I was looking at some of the screenshots,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of what made that game have the mood that it did, that really melancholy, dreamlike state, was that it was in greenish gray and greenish gray.
Oh, yeah.
It just had that sort of fog to everything.
Yeah, this, having actually played a bit of Link's Awakening at PAX, the the blur, the tilt shift and the blur they add to it definitely it makes it have a completely different feel, and it does feel like you're playing a toy, but it definitely feels alien.
It is still one of my favorite Zeldas. So,
So what else
Probably
do we
gonna
want to
do-
talk about?
well, we should definitely talk about the fact that we are here at loadingreadyrun.com. That's where you can find everything. But if you'd like to find our schedule, that's at loadingreadyrun.com/live. You can find all the great shows there, both pre-recorded and streamed in general. If you'd like to support us, and boy, are you all so generous in your support of us, we have many options for that. You can go to patreon.com/loadingreadyrun and give us your money on a subscription basis. We greatly appreciate that. It helps us really just keep the coffers full and then emptied immediately because we have a lot of people to pay. If you'd prefer to give us money on YouTube, you can do that. That's a thing that they allow now, and we'd appreciate that. That's at youtube.com/loadingreadyrun, where you can find most of our stuff. If you'd like to see the VODs of this, or if you are watching this on a VOD, well, you're watching at youtube.com/loadingreadylive. And if you'd like to support our Magic content, that's over at youtube.com/luremtg. Finally, I would like to thank those of you who have shown up in the chat here tonight. Specifically, starting with those of you who just show up and watch and don't say any words whatsoever. We're so happy to have you in the chat with us. But we'd like to thank in specific the people who support us here at twitch.tv/loadingreadyrun with their bits and their generous subscriptions, starting with Temporarily Awry, with 17 months of subscription under their belt. Thank you. Zimmer CJ, you've got 35 months under your belt. Thank you. I've got to thank the Lesser Gatsby for 34 months. They can give you Gatsby. Rexadecimal was gifted a sub by Fruon. Thank you so much, Rexadecimal, for sticking around, and thank you again for the keyboard, by the way. Joomph has been around for 2 months, and I'm happy to see you back. Thank you to the Hakofo, 36 months. Thank you. 50 McNasty, that's 35 months, and that's horrible. No, it's fantastic. Thank you. Hacksaw07 has been gifted a sub by Crowmancer. 20x6, thank you both. Thank you to Elder Atropos. Elder Atropos, 60-month sub. Thank you.
5 years there.
Yeah.
Woo!
Armstrong, 11,139 for 30 months. Thank you for your support. And Zrez2, thank you for your 33 months of support. The Moat Man has been here for 66 months. Thank you for your support. And 62 MG Cobra has been around for 10 months. Thank you. A big thank you for Adam. Your mileage has mileage instead for 33 months. Mnomic Man, yes, 17 months. There's a mnemonic for that. Suzuki has been around for 21 months. Thank you for your support. Ashiok Nightmare Beaver has been around for 27 months, and we're happy to have you around. Wellbot1, you are celebrating your 18th month subversary. Thank you for your continued support. And Jesus38 has been around for 17 months. Thank you. Also want to thank Mr. Dirty for 26 months. And Lucha Libro for 26 months of subs as well. And of course, we would like to thank, for those 100 bits, Kiab42 for the bits. It's always a bittersweet end to the show. But it's been a lot of fun. I look forward to continuing on with this project and finishing it up very soon. So we'll see you in 1 week's time to do that very activity. Until then, ever forward,